everyone, my name is Michael Seiger. I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, and this is the DomainSherpa Discussion. This is the show where we discuss industry and internet news, trends going on, and questions from the audience. We're joined by four industry veterans and thought leaders. From left to right, we have Adam Dicker, CEO of NicheWebsites.com, an internet marketing and web development firm, and DNForum.com, the largest domain name discussion forum. Mike Berkens, publisher of TheDomains.com, co-founder of the Right of the Dot consultancy, and founder of the domain marketplace MostWantedDomains.com. Paige Howe, founder and president of the domain marketplaces JoeDomains.com and DomainOutlet.com. And Rick Schwartz, the domain king, publisher of RicksBlog.com and co-founder of the Traffic Domain Industry Conference. Gentlemen, welcome to this week's show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Hello.
First up, not all TLDs are slow out of the gate. The Chinese IDNs for .online and .website racked up 33,000 and 17,500 domain registrations respectively just a few hours after general availability this week. DomainInsight.com originally reported 54,000 and almost 39,000 domain names respectively for the two IDNs, but came out later in the day and said that the registry accidentally included thousands of registry reserved names in those totals. As of today, NTLDstats.com shows they have 29,719 .online and 14,213 .website. I'm not sure what the exact numbers are. I'm not sure if anybody is, but it's about 45 to 50,000 across the two TLDs operated by the registry called TLD Registry. Rick, are you surprised that they've had such a quick uptake on the first day?
Well, first of all, you'd have to define quick. I mean, it's only quick relative to the other turkeys that are out there, okay? So gobble, gobble. I mean, I personally, when a good one comes out, okay, that's when you're going to look back and see how laughable these numbers are. When a good one comes out, I don't know if it'll be .club. It's possible. I don't know. They're the first one. Maybe that's possible. I think a good one, and I'm not saying it will because it probably won't, but I think a good one would eclipse 100,000 in the first day very quickly, a good one, or 500,000 in the first day, a good one. So these numbers to me are minuscule, and if you look at Ron Jackson's piece last night, the percentage is 0.001, and so many of them have just stalled out completely. I mean, .CEO has a grand total of 974 registrations. Hallelujah, okay? .rich is stuck at 37. There's others that are just stuck and stalled and dying on the vine, a term that I've been coining for over a year. Now you're starting to see what dying on the vine looks like, and you're going to see a whole lot more dying on the vine, especially when the good ones come out and these grapes turn into raisins. Okay, you got to remember, even the ones that have over 50,000 registrations, they're likely to shrink when they comes to renewal time, other than grow. So, you know, it may take a couple of years for that to happen, but eventually they can turn into raisins. They could. They have the ability to turn into raisins. Not all of them. It's basically the way I look at the GTLDs is they're a flotilla. You know, they like need each other to float, but they're also paying the price for the sins of each other. So it's a mess.
Yeah. Hey, has anybody on the panel invested in either of these IDNs? Adam? You've got your mic on. How many?
I know.
Okay. How many domain names did you register, and were they part of pre-general availability or after they became generally available?
So let me add some light onto this. First of all, it's not .website. It's .Chinese website is the translation.
Oh, it literally is .Chinese website. It's not .website in Chinese.
Correct.
Thanks for that clarification.
I know that a good portion of these, at least half, have been registered by a few investors that I know. So there's quite a few. Now, I'm registering quite a few myself, and I'm dealing with a lot of Asian people to help me with the translations, but I'm doing it the same way I've done it before, where I'm doing what people would type, not the way it would be sound or be spelt in the dictionary. Mm-hmm. And there's still quite a few good ones available. So yeah, I'm registering quite a few of these compared to anything else I've registered in the GTLD space before. And while I'm on that, I tripped over a really good registrar who I'm going to plug now because their service has been incredible, better than anybody we've ever dealt with before. It's a company called Hexonet.
Oh yeah.
HEXONET.net. Incredible service, incredible pricing, and fast transfers, and a no bullshit interface with no upsells, no garbage, and it's really good and really easy. So if anybody's looking for a good registrar to register, and they do all the GTLDs and all the regular TLDs and the comms and nets and org, so I'm going to be moving quite a bit over there. I'm very impressed with them so far.
Nice. Are you registering .Chinese online and .website online through Hexonet as well?
Yes.
And what's the general pricing for both of those? I haven't looked it up.
The general pricing for the average Joe story page would be about $39.
$39. So how many are you planning on registering? Do you know?
A few thousand.
Wow.
And I'm already seeing traffic on some of them. So I really think this one has legs, and the only reason I'm saying this on the video is because I'll have registered all mine by the time it airs.
It's tomorrow morning. You better get going.
Don't worry, I've got people generating lists and sending me as we speak.
Hey, Mike Berkens and Paige Howe, I want to hear you guys chime in. Are you registering any of these IDNs?
I actually haven't. I believe in them, and I've met those guys, and I think Simon, who you may be interviewing shortly on Sherpa, is a very, very, they're very smart people. They're very engaged in China, although they're not Chinese. And if you chat with the guy, he will make you certainly a believer in him. So I think it definitely has legs to go. And since Mr. Dirker has now mentioned Hexonet, not that it's probably a huge secret if anybody's ever looked at my registrations, but over the last year and a half or so, I've used Hexonet. So my whole domain portfolio is over at Hexonet basically, and most of my 95% of my new GTLD registrations are at Hexonet. So since you mentioned it, I will second him in saying that I obviously explored a lot of alternatives when I decided to move the portfolio to a new registrar, and that was the one I chose. And I think they're also awesome. Very amenable, huge customer service, sort of that one-on-one service, that I used to get over at Moniker, even before Monty was my partner, kind of thing. So yeah, I can't speak any highly enough about Hexonet.
Nice.
So we'll do that.
Hey, Paige, does it concern you that any TLD wanting to do business in China has to comply with the Chinese government, and they don't necessarily see eye to eye with the rest of the world about free speech or, democracy or running a for-profit business? Is that a large hurdle for a registry and a potential financial hurdle to consider?
Well, I'm not sure logic has played a part in whether you make money in domains or not. So I think I'd be more tempted if it didn't make sense and looked like it was going to get totally taken away, but everybody was doing it. I would just jump on board, shut my eyes, plug my nose, and dive in. So you know what? I guess I feel like I could never know enough people to ever influence the Communist Party of China. So I would just never fool myself that I was in and everyone else was out. You know what I mean? So I think just being realistic. We haven't done a lot of IDNs. We always felt like once we got in, there'd be the English language with the IDN to the right of the dot. There'd be IDN, there'd be English IDN and IDN English, and we'd have to almost have 4 of everything. And so if we don't really know what we're doing, we're going to kind of stay out. But I like Adam's point that I think a lot of the same things that we've learned in regular domain names does transfer. Mm-hmm. However, the biggest thing that'll transfer is everybody will want what they can buy for reg fee, and they won't want what you've already bought. That seems to be the biggest thing. So China has shown that it can inflate enormous bubbles, and I just don't know enough to know if this is real end-user demand or speculator demand. So I'll keep an eye on it.
Hey, Adam, how are you handling that? Are you registering, Chinese characters.idn, or are you registering Latin characters.idn, or?
Are you looking for more secrets, Michael?
Yes.
I am registering Chinese characters.Chinese characters.
Yeah. All right. Because in the research you've done, that's how most Chinese people are searching?
Yes.
All right, moving right along. The registries that operate .wiki, .globo, and .ceo want to offer 2-character domain names. DomainNameWire.com reported that 3 new top-level domain registries have asked ICANN to allow them to register 2-character domain names under their TLDs. They include .wiki. They want to offer matching wikipedia.org domain names like fr.wiki to redirect to fr.wikipedia.org. .globo wants to use second-level domains that are 2 characters, but not 2 letters, like a1.globo. And .ceo, .best, and .cred want to offer just 2-character domain names to the public. Paige, let's start with you. Why has ICANN refused to allow 2-letter domain names to be registered right off the bat with the new TLDs?
Well, I don't know if we ever know specifically why, but I think the Government Advisory Committee has wanted to protect the 2-letter country codes. And if you extend that to say that countries could exist in the future that will need their code protected, then you can extend to saying we want to protect all 2 letters. And I think it shows a weakness on the part of the new TLD operators that they're already trying to dip into the restricted fruit basket to have, to sell something. We're not doing well enough with what we have, so we need to jump into what we don't have. If we could only get those 2 characters, then our whole business model would work, and I think they'll probably get it, because it seems like when the registries go back to ICANN, they usually get it. But it would make me feel less strong about my registry partner that they're already going back to get these so soon.
Mike Berkens, do you agree with Paige's sentiment that these TLDs are a little weaker than others, and that's why they're going back to ICANN to ask for them to release these?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of great domain names, that wind up being blocked because of the two character restrictions. They're like 2-character restriction. His reasoning for it is correct. I doubt that ICANN will approve any 2 letters that matches an existing country code. And there's, not continuously new countries being formed, but there are new countries being formed. Like Montenegro, which is .me, was formed out of the old Yugoslavia. So they, that was the reason they blocked them initially. But certainly, there are a lot of, really good go to action words like GO, that are wrapped up in it. And, even for XXX, they're not allowed to have 2 letters at the moment. So really, really good .XXX names, for example, like maybe BJ .XXX or 69.XXX, not available, not allowed to be registered by ICANN. So there's, obviously, if you own the registry, you'd want to offer as many names for sale as you could possibly offer. I think the wholesale prohibition against any 2-character domains is sort of overreaching, but that's sort of where we are. So not surprising that they're asking ICANN to be exempted out of certain ones. I'm sure all the registries will at some point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys would be first to jump into 2-letter domain names, wouldn't you? There's a lot of potential. It could open up the market for a lot of the registries for single letter, 2-letter. We've seen single letter .orgs and 2-letter.coms are gold. And if they drop, some registries are pulling them back right now. Isn't that the case?
If they match a country code, they definitely pull them back. And some of them are pulling all of them back.
Yeah.
So pulling the single letters back. The Verisign is pulling all of the single letter.tvs back.
Right.
That dropped. G.tv dropped, and there's a few other ones they pulled them back.
Yeah.
To resell maybe one day at higher prices.
All right. Last topic of TLDs, I want to do a quick recap of last week's show and responses. We had a lot of user interaction. It generated a lot of interest and education in the industry. If you missed last week's show, scroll down to the right-hand side of the page to the DomainSherpa discussion dated April 24th. On that show, we discussed DomainNameSales.com opting in by default to include text on emails dismissing an inquiry. Adam Dicker brought it up in the show. Happy to report that Jeff Gabriel, Vice President of Sales at DomainNameSales.com, championed the issue, made it an opt-out by default process going forward. They heard us, they listened to what was being said, and they changed their policy. I think it's a great example of how customers speaking out and a company listening and wanting to serve them and updating their processes and policies so customers know that they're a top priority. Adam, you were the one that brought up the first issue, as I mentioned. Are you satisfied with the response?
Yes, I'm more than satisfied with the response. They did reach out to me professionally and explain what their original thoughts were, and I told them how I felt, and they definitely reacted professionally. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. Everybody has growing pains when they start out and they build a company, so it is what it is. They took responsibility and they accepted it and they changed it.
Yeah. And I personally have interacted with Jeff Gabriel and Dan. Dan's last name is Abramson? Adamson. And I think both of them are earnest and they want to improve their system based on customer input. And there was a couple of people that posted contrary opinions. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Hopefully people will continue to read this and think about the way they interact with their customers. I'm going to close out that topic unless anybody else wants to comment about domain name sales and the issue with the opt-in.
Well, I mean, the only thing I will say is that when companies are going to come into a space that has a general population that they're speaking to, they should probably run by some of the policies and procedures by a panel and do some QA to see if it's going to be accepted or not accepted, and test some of these policies before they go out there and they make mistakes. And this is not specifically towards domain name sales, but to donuts and to all the other companies that are entering our space. Mm-hmm. You really need to get the input of the people that know it the best.
Yeah, great point.
You see what happens when any company has an overreach. That's all it was. It's all it is an overreach. When companies have an overreach, there's a pushback, and that's basically what you saw. And then a company has to adjust to their customers, and that's the free market at work.
Yeah.
I think Adam's comment's spot on. I think so many times I've been at a show where you're dealing with stuff from the 30,000-foot level, and this is our strategic initiative, and this is what we think our marketplace does, or this is what we're trying to do, and then you kind of open up the system, and all of a sudden you have people going, wow, I've never really looked at it that way, like a user would look at it. Really, it does that? Or, it looks like that, or you can't do that, or, and it's really kind of surprising, and so I echo Adam's comment.
Well, it's called, in the real world, real companies use it. It's called usability testing. Mm-hmm. I mean, and quality assurance. They need to do these things if they're going to be considered real companies.
Yeah. We also got an update from 101 Domain on the upcharge, let's call it, of about 50 domain names. Joe Alanya emailed me a response from 101 Domain COO Anthony Bertrand about what happened and how they are addressing the Mina IDN from Google, from the Google registry. In a nutshell, the letter, which you can read at domaininsight.com, and I believe Joe is going to post it as a comment on the Domain Sherpa, basically says that Google didn't operate in a standard manner like other registries do in supplying information to registrars, that 101 Domain acted without required information, and that, quote, in hindsight, 101 Domain should not have launched this TLD without these standard features in place or clear warnings to customers that pricing had to be confirmed after submission due to manual registry processes, end quote. Basically, 101 Domain told customers, so they took responsibility for it, and they told customers that they do not have 24 hours like they originally said. They now have until June 23rd to make a decision whether they want to delete the name or pay for the premium name. Secondly, if customers want to keep the names, 101 Domain will offer them a 50% discount on the first-year premium price and a 25% discount on premium annual renewals. And finally, if a customer gives up the domain names, they'll get a credit on 101domain.com for any future purchases equal to 25% of the price of the premium name. Rick, do you think this is a satisfactory response to the situation?
Well, it's a response. I may not be the best one to ask because I have no skin in the game, but I was thinking about it earlier, and as being in business for a long time, I like to get ahead of things, and I think they did a lot of damage to their company from their response, and I think they should have just come out last week, to be honest with you, and said, listen, we messed up. This is what we'll do. We'll split the baby with you. We'll pay the first year. That's the hours, and after that, you have a year to decide whether you want to keep the domain or not keep the domain. And I think that probably would have really satisfied the people. And I can't speak for them because I'm not involved, but I can at least think that they would say, okay, that seems more fair, than the insult of the 12. We'll give you your $12.99 back in a coupon.
Right.
That didn't do them any good, and it hurt their credibility, and you can't buy that back. So it's like, do you take? Sometimes you just got to back up 5 yards and punt, and I really think that if they had done that originally, they could have come out of this looking like heroes, and maybe a registrar to look to say, okay, they made a mistake, they owned it, and they did something really concrete to try to make those people whole. I mean, this is pretty decent at least, and I think they should have offered this right from the get-go, and maybe they would have gotten it. And but again, I'm not the best guy to ask. I think the ones that are involved in it are the ones that need to chime in either way and say if it's good for them, if it's bad for them. They're the ones that they're the parties that have suffered the the hurt.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? You guys think it's fair?
No, I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think that all he did was tell us that if he can discount them 50%, it means their markup's too high to begin with. But beyond that, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's going to really... there's people that had development projects on the go. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it should be done. I think they should eat their mistakes. And if they're a serious company, like all these Ford and car companies that do have recalls, they'd eat the cost, learn from their mistakes, and move on. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Adam. I think, had they come out with what they came out with now initially, it would have been arguably okay, but, under the circumstances and the rollout and the time frame, I think they should, again, it was their mistake. They should have just eaten it. It's easy for us to say, but, whatever. It seems like the right thing to have done under the circumstances. So I think they're now going to be playing catch up for a very long time, and they'll wind up eating a lot of the cost anyway. So why just not do the right thing from the beginning?
Yeah. Well, and
yeah,
I think
they're certainly probably feeling a lot better than I am with donuts, but I think it seems fair now. But since it's late, they lose points. So whatever they got for coming to it now, it's kind of like the NBA thing yesterday, where the commissioner came out and came out stronger than everyone thought, and everyone just sat there and looked at it and said, "That's fair," and they were almost thinking, "Man, maybe that's too much." And the fact that no one said anything, the commissioner knew that he had picked the right spot. You know what I mean? Because everyone just went, "Yeah, okay, good," and then everyone can go on with their life. And I think, in my situation and maybe in these other people, the first offer left a lot lacking, where they were still like, no, I don't feel like I've been evened out, and so, and then the fact it's come later. So,
I don't think it's fair to compare 101 to the racist Clippers owner. So they've made a few mistakes, but I don't think they're as bad as that. Racism.
I was comparing the coming out with picking the right level from the start, as opposed to saying, well, what do you want us to do? Just tell us what we have to do to get you back. You have to, like Rick said, you have to risk. You have to come out and say, this is going to cost us something, and we're going to do it. But, yeah, I'm not comparing the two things that they did at all.
Yeah.
And keeping on that rate, it was just announced that Andrew Rosener bought Santa.com, and I'm glad he's not Jewish.
Yeah, that's quite a purchase that he just made there. If anybody goes back to look through the internet archive of Santa.com, it's got some...
Congratulations.
I can see the headlines. Jewish guy owns Santa.
ICANN's going to try and take it away from him. You're not Christian.
Yes.
All right, next up, DomainNameWire.com completed this year's survey of domain investors' priorities. Andrew Alleman's survey shows that when it comes to selecting a domain name registrar, security and price remain the top customer considerations. Adam, the survey identified 8 factors: security, price, customer service, account management tools, ease of pushing domain names to another person, availability of top-level domain names, value-added services. What do they do with an expired domain name when it comes to your domain investments? You mentioned earlier you liked Hexanet because
Well, they're getting a good plug today.
I know, but it's because they have good customer service, and you didn't really mention, they have a lot of different TLDs and IDNs. Do you agree security and price are 2 of your largest concerns when it comes to choosing a registrar?
First of all, I didn't take that survey. How many on this panel actually did take the survey? Yeah, that's what I figured. Just the guy who doesn't have any domain names.
Oh, screw you. I have some. Just because I don't have as many as you doesn't mean that they don't value. They're not valuable.
Wow, did I get you up to that there, Mike? You lost your cool.
Well, you insult me. You insult 90% of the domain investors out there that likely have the same number of domains as me. Eat that, Adam Dicker.
That was specifically for you. So to answer your question.
Anyways, back to security and price.
To answer your question, security is a major issue. Price to me is not so much a major issue. Yes, I want to get a good deal, but to me, honestly, and people are going to hate this, but if a domain is $15 or $20 a domain name, and I still know I can sell it for thousands of dollars, it's not that terrible to me. I mean, yeah, over thousands of domain names, it's a pain in the ass because it costs you a lot more. But in one sense, if they were higher priced, less people would afford to get in the market. So to me, anyway, price is not as important as the security and the customer service. Customer service is extremely important, and yes, having the availability of all the TLDs, GTLDs, CCTLDs, or whatever else you want is, and a very easy-to-use system where you're not hammered with upgrades and hosting and everything else, is critical. So those to me are my main points. Price is important. I'm not going to devalue the value of a good price, but it's not as important as good customer service, because you can get the lowest price in the land, but if you don't have good customer service when you need it, you'll lose those domain names.
Now, why do you need customer service, Adam? I don't understand. I do transactions, every week with domains I purchase, domains I transfer out. It all goes, without a hitch over at, some of the registrars that I use.
Yeah, and it may for now, but the one time you actually need their help, or you need them to be flexible on renewing and redemption because you had an issue or you have something, you're going to need customer service. I don't know too many businesses where at some point you don't need customer service. And yes, we're all self-sufficient. Yes, we understand how to move domains and push them. But sometimes there's things that come up where you do need to be able to reach out to somebody. I was looking at another registrar before, and I was thinking about moving a bunch of names to them. I won't give out which one, but I couldn't find the phone number. And when I couldn't find the phone number, the price didn't matter. I wanted to be able to reach out if I need. I mean, I've got Hexanet on Skype now. They have really incredible service. And to me, the others can chime in, but you need that excellent service because it could mean the difference between getting a sale and not being able to push it in time. I mean, there's a lot more involved than just buying a domain name and thinking you're done and waiting for the sale. So,
yeah. Okay, and I just want to clarify one thing. Hexanet is not advertising with you, right, Adam? You're making this recommendation out of your own free will and accord.
They're not advertising with me. Before a few days ago, I never even heard of them. And the funny thing is they're based in Canada. I never heard of them. So, yeah, and I asked them a bunch of questions yesterday, and I had an email an hour later with all the answers, including some of the ridiculous questions that I asked about certain CCTLDs. So, yeah, no, I have no relationship with them. I have after this video, maybe they'll want to become an advertiser, but they're not at the moment. So, who knows?
Hey, Mike Berkens, you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of domain names, tens of thousands, 80,000, right?
That's 75,000-ish.
75,000-ish. Price is an issue to you, right? Like if you pay $9 versus $8, $10 versus $9, that's a lot of money every year. That's just potentially vanishing. Or is it one of your big concerns?
Well, I mean, I think I think there are a lot of registrars for a portfolio size of mine that will be fairly flexible in price, and so I don't think I have to sort of choose between paying, in Adam's example, between something say I don't know, $9 and $15. But I mean, I think I have a big range of registrars that'd be happy to take, the business within, 50 cents a name difference or less. So, so I actually agree with Adam. I mean, to me, Hexanet was.
Why are you smiling about that? What do you mean you actually
within,
For once, he said.
The registrar business, it was, yeah. So, I have over the last year and a half moved like all my 75,000 names to Hexanet. And, I think it really is important, not with just registrars, but with really all of the businesses, vendors that you deal with on a regular basis in the domain space, be it auction houses or registrars or, other people that you have a point of contact. Like somebody that you have a phone number for, that you have on Skype, that you could text message and is responsive. Because, when you don't, some of us have been very spoiled over the years of having that. And then, all of a sudden the company is sold or something changes and then you don't have that. And then you really, really know what it is to miss that. So Adam is correct. I mean, I have those guys on Skype. I have their phone numbers. If I have a problem, an issue, if I need something done, they do it and they get back to me, and I know where they live, and so on and so forth. And then some of these other companies, some of the bigger companies, the public companies, you don't have really anybody. I mean, you kind of know some people you could write to, but they don't respond in the same way, shape, or form. And you just, the customer service really is very, very important. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you're paying twice as much, that's obviously becomes a big consideration. If you're paying, a dime more or 20 cents more or 30 cents more, I would pay that for the customer service for sure, easily.
Yeah. Listen, the $15 was an exaggeration. What I was trying to say is it's always worth a bit more to pay for good service than to get the best deal in town and have nobody to talk to.
I agree.
Personally, I have.
Regardless of what Adam and I say, please don't use Hexanet.
So I personally use GoDaddy for most of my domain names because they have a domain verification transfer service that it's basically two-factor authentication. If you want to transfer or push any domain name out of your account, your account rep has to call you and verify it. I like that two-factor authentication, especially after Heartbleed, and people may have your passwords for everything out there, and most of us don't use independent, secure passwords for every single site. And, domain names are a financial transaction just like anything else. Do you have two-factor authentication over at Hexanet also, or is it such a operation that, they're going to question whether Mike or Adam, you're transferring any out and they're going to ping you before they do it?
Yes. But that's obviously not going to apply to a lot of your audience.
Right.
Who don't have huge portfolios. And so in those cases, they probably wouldn't necessarily.
Right.
I don't think you can get every customer who has 5 domains with them. So, it depends on your circumstances. But in my case, just like, in Moniker back in the day, nothing's moving out without, a phone call, a text, Skype. You're really selling this name. You really want to transfer the name. So
even in
that customer service.
Even in the good old days, they used to call you from Moniker and verify you were selling a name.
Yes.
Hey, Paige, is security one of your top concerns?
I think there's a level of security that you definitely want to have. Competency, I would replace security with competency. I think just that their system works and can handle a large amount of names. And I'll get on the customer service issue because if there's any registrars out there listening, it's not just basic customer service. It would be like what you'd have at an accounting firm, partner level customer service, because most of the time, if we're running into an issue, it isn't just a basic issue of, oh, I forgot to put in the right expiration date of our credit card. We probably understand their systems better than they do, and it's because there's a complicated problem with, something like this Google thing with the registry, and we just don't want to have to go through educating a basic customer service person about what it is. We're bringing them the exact problem, probably the exact information we know they want. We just are looking for someone that can act. And I think that's a different level maybe than just regular customer service. It's understanding, what may be needed on these really it's kind of like I want to tell registrars sometime, the reason I'm calling in is because there is a problem. Things didn't work the way they were supposed to. Please understand it's a problem. If everything would have worked the way it was supposed to, then it would have worked the way and we wouldn't have to call in. So that's what I'll call the customer service I'm kind of looking for. Price, I think as long as they're in the same ballpark, that's great. The things I'm looking at are competency and probably what resale partners they're with. That's important to me because we do like doing the direct transfer and the auto act. So that's probably the other thing I look at, and what Keiretsus they're lined up with in terms of where you can sell. So those are things I look for.
Do you agree, Rick? Those are main issues you're looking for?
You bet. For me, since I don't sell a lot of domains, I want mine to be like a roach motel, you know? My domains can get in, but they can't come out.
You want them locked down.
Right. I want those babies locked down and know if something's going on, someone tries anything, that I'm getting a phone call or an email right away.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And like Paige said, it's about being competent and knowing that you're going to deal with someone that's going to take the issue seriously, because believe me, none of us are going to call them unless it's a serious issue to begin with. And usually you don't have serious issues between 9 and 5. And so if you're a 9 to 5 registrar, well, that don't work, because this is a 24/7 business. And that's on every level of every business on the entire internet, by the way, not just registrars, but, especially because, look, burglaries happen in the middle of the night. Who are you going to call? I mean, if your registrar, if you can't get a hold of your registrar, what good are they? So the customer service is absolutely paramount. And it all goes hand in hand. Competency, customer service, security, and usually you find guys that do it right to begin with also have the best price because they know what's going on and they're fair. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yep. All right, next up, Paige Howe pointed out an article on CNNMoney.com today. Walmart will soon start offering auto insurance along with vegetables and garden supplies, it said on the site. The nation's largest retailer said Wednesday it's partnering with autoinsurance.com to provide customers a one-stop shop for their auto insurance needs. Paige, it sounded to me from the article that it was pretty much just a lead generation opportunity. They're partnering, they're sharing the mass traffic that they have on Walmart.com, and they're taking a cut for any sales that happen.
Absolutely. But I just think, using a generic name, I mean, say they would have gone with Libby.com, and they said Walmart is partnering with Libby.com, then they'd always have to say to offer auto insurance to our customers. But it's not a big stretch to understand that when they partner with autoinsurance.com, that they're probably offering auto insurance. Yeah, so I wasn't saying that they bought it or they did this, but it's just an example of when you have a premium domain name, you can walk into a transaction like that with something on your side of the table, and they have their stuff on their side of the table, and you've got something there that sometimes you can't just say, well, we'll take 30 cents less a lead because our name isn't that good. Well, then you've got the ability to ask for something and have the prestige. So that's what I took it as.
Right, and if Geico would have come to them directly and said, hey, Walmart, partner with us, put us on your website, we'll give you a commission of every sale that comes through, they might have done it, but Geico has spent, hundreds of millions of dollars building their brand and making Geico synonymous with insurance, whereas autoinsurance.com, it is immediately understandable what they provide. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a good use of a generic name.
Mm-hmm. All right. It will be interesting to see what happens with that. And if we get to find out how many leads and how much revenue it's actually generating for Walmart. They're a public company. Would that kind of information be public, Paige?
Probably not. It's probably just a business segment. But if you're autoinsurance.com, a lot more people are going to know about autoinsurance.com if Walmart's doing stuff with them. And I'm sure if you go to autoinsurance.com, I haven't been there, but I bet you if you wanted house insurance, I'm guessing they can probably help you out with that too. So.
Probably. Yeah, the power of an exact match domain. All right, next topic. Our own Mike Berkens posted on thedomains.com yesterday that he gave up Bahamas.tv with a $500 annual cost and grabbed BahamasTV.com for $98 with a normal renewal fee of about $8.50. Strictly a business decision, it sounded like, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it was also based on, inquiries over the years and how much interest there was in the name, which was really zero. And so, yeah, it was a business decision. It makes, something makes sense. And I also wrote, about another domain that I had gotten on the drop that, matched the new GTLD, and I tried to go register the new GTLD, and that was like $233 a year, which, didn't really make sense to me, so I passed on that one too. So
Right, so that was dietcamp.com, a great domain name for $114 that you bought in an auction.
Right.
But diet.camp was more expensive and had a higher annual renewal fee. Are you basically saying that at this time, Mike, the .com equivalents of both of these TLDs are better investment opportunities for you? You're more likely to sell at a profit the .com versions than the new TLD versions?
I don't know if I'm more likely to sell, but I think they're just better investments. I mean, I would have bought diet.camp had it been priced at some sort of normal number. But, at $232 a year, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't know how resaleable it is. I think it really hurts the resale value of domains when they have, high annual renewal fees. So, again, Bahamas.tv, it's very, the whole VeriSign.tv theme that we all sort of aware of is very weird and very strange. That the new owner of the name was basically permitted to buy the name by paying a one-time fee to VeriSign for less than my annual renewal fee. Mm-hmm. So why, as somebody who's owned the name for a number of years, why VeriSign wouldn't have offered me the opportunity to own that name with the same amount of money that they would sell it to a brand new guy for, has been something that's, I'm sure, frustrated many, many domainers out there over the years. Still no logic or reason. It's anti-intuitive to any sort of normal business. Normally you want to keep your customers and make them happy, and you certainly wouldn't want to ditch a customer, in favor of a new guy and give them a better deal than you were paying, because not only don't you lose the name, but you also kind of feel like you've overpaid all these years. Right. For the name. If it was only worth, to VeriSign was $400 and something for the new owner to acquire it, one-time payment. For them to have charged me $500 a year for it is, it doesn't leave a good feeling, a good taste in the mouth, as they would say, on many levels. So,
So to talk about what Michael Berkens has done is he's done what a lot of people in the industry and domainers have a tough time doing, and that's dropping what you may perceive to be a good name and making a sound business decision. And I think it's an important lesson that just because a name is good, if it's had no offers, no traffic, whatever it is, no potential, you can find a better solution. People need to evaluate their names. Too many people hold names just because they've bought them before and they think they need to keep them, or because they have some emotional attachment to them. And we've been told many times, don't get romantic with your names. Make the good business decision. And it's a good lesson for people that evaluate their portfolios to take into consideration when they're looking at whether they should renew a domain name or not.
Yeah.
So I'm in Mike's spot on a couple premium domains, .tv domains. Totally agree with him. It gets even worse when you have people buying the back orders on your names, and making sure that if you ever let it go, boy, they're going to get it. And all you can do is make a choice. You can't make someone else do something. All you can do is make a choice. So we did something similar to what Mike did. We just found other names that we thought were of the same pedigree that we could buy for a one-time price with the regular renewal. And even though they weren't the exact name, say we were ranking them on a scale of 1 to 100. If we thought that we had a 65 and we could buy another 65, then we just had to swap out. And that's all you can do is act. When you have a company like VeriSign, where there is really no public face of the .tv, there's no accountability for the .tv, there's no, it's not like a startup that's sitting there going, boy, we really care about how we're perceived or anything like that. And so all you can do is act. And I think, as I was bummed because we own a lot of TV.coms, we really like it because it's you can trademark what's left of the dot. You don't have to worry about your username being something different. I mean, just all the reasons why a .com is better than a new TLD, you get it. And so we own, quite a few of them, and just bought one today, in fact. And you just have to pay the little, $8.73 a year, which, you look at some of these new TLDs at $26.99 and $28.50, and it's funny, everyone considers their first year as an investment. It's like, that's my cost. I paid 30 and I'm going to sell it for 3,000. But when that second year comes around, that's when you really focus on the fact that it's an expense. It's the money going out. So great move, Mike. Loved it, except for the fact that other people know about it now.
Yeah, there were a couple of nice .tv sales, so we should mention that as well this week. There was fashion.tv and live.tv that sold, not by myself, but by other people for, 6 figures, and, live.tv sold for, I think, $500,000.
500,000.
So,
500,000, yeah.
Yeah, so those are really nice sales, and, .tv is a good space. I just, psychologically and, from a business point of view, wish they would handle it differently. And I think it would be a much better extension if VeriSign took a more normal business approach to things, which is protecting the customers you have and not favoring new customers.
Yeah. Hey, Paige, you brought up an interesting topic. How do you know if somebody's buying a back order on a domain you have registered?
You don't. Until you let it, like on .tv, you can let it go and then try to get it, and if you don't get it, see who got it, but they'll usually put it under privacy. And if you ever talk to them, they'll say, oh yeah, I was just doing that for a favor for you. Just let me know, let's try to work something out, or something like that. And nah.
Yeah.
There's only a few registrars that really deal in .tv back orders, and most of them, the vast majority are caught by those few registrars, so it's a little bit easier to track. So, I don't know if it's any big news, but name.com, over the years has been the most successful in catching, the vast majority of .tvs, although they didn't catch Bahamas.tv. But, there was a time where if you had a back order at name.com on the .tv, you were basically going to get it if it dropped. Now it's a little bit more competitive, but you can go to name.com and you can try to back order it, and if it's available, you can do it, and if it's not available, that means somebody else has it. So it's easy to say there.
Hey, Paige and I have...
go ahead.
Go ahead, Paige.
We've owned Men's.tv for a long time and had to pay the annual fee, and then finally, like a year and a half ago, we got the back order. Weren't really ready to risk it so soon, and then this year we did, and we ended up getting it at name. And so if you get through the process, you're happy. You're like, oh, instead of paying $1,000 a year, I just had to pay something one time, and you're like, phew. But it's the idea that before it happens, you want to go buy something else, so that if it does happen, like in Mike's case, maybe if he would have bought Caribbean.tv or something, he'd sit there and say, well, if it doesn't work out, at least I've got something at regular renewals. But you get back to that, in the back of your mind, you're saying stinking VeriSign, and you're knocking them down on the do I want to do business with them in the future? What is my perception of the company? Would I go out on a limb for them? And that just keeps getting knocked down. Now, they don't see that in their figures. They don't see that in their finances. It doesn't mean much to a corporation, but to us it does, I think. If I was running .tv and this was happening to Mike, I'd have to sit there and go, man, do I want to be doing that to my customers? And you just don't get that sense from them.
Yeah. Paige, you and I have discussed domain names that are in auction at GoDaddy as a result of expired domain name. And, we've both gone through the process, been in an auction, not on the same name, but bid high and won it, only to find out that the registrant actually renewed it post-expiration. And they get to see, as a result of that, they get to see how much interest there is amongst mostly domain name investors and what price it would sell for. Has anybody on the panel done that with one of their domain names in the past?
Okay, I have something on this. I have regularly let domain names lapse, but not because I was trying to see the prices on GoDaddy auctions. I've never actually looked at them. I just do my renewals sometimes regularly, sometimes irregularly. And people thought that I was doing it to let and see what the prices were. But the odd thing is, one time a name did go up, and somebody told me about it, and I did pull the name back because I found it was expiring. And then I put it up for sale on the same site, and it only got to like a third of what it was because people thought they were getting a bargain. So it was a good test, and you never really know. But I've never actually put names through, let them expire to get them on the auction platform.
Mike, have you done that?
It's interesting for us because when you get that message that say the name has finally been taken out of your GoDaddy account, it seems like we get the message for names that other people did buy at auction kind of at a different time. So it lets us track, if half of our deletes at GoDaddy were getting bought, we would probably think, hey, we might be too tough of a curve. But as long as it's, 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, it lets us say, okay, I mean, that's reasonable that somebody else would want to speculate at wholesale on about 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, and what we're dropping. We can live with that. And so that's the only time we've used it, is just to kind of track, how in total, if for every 100 names we're dropping, how many are getting picked up. But I think it's way too passive to think that I'm going to renew the name and then the person's going to want to climb me up and say, hey, I thought I was going to buy this name for $22. Now I want to give you 22 grand or something.
Yeah. Mike, do you ever let this process go through to see what they'll sell for?
No.
No.
And you know what, Michael? Sometimes people will actually, and this is how it happens with me, I had planets.net, and it was just expiring. It was like expired a day ago. It wasn't on GoDaddy auctions or anything. And somebody emailed me and said, look, if you're not going to renew it, is there a way I can buy it for you? So I just noticed it and went and renewed it. So these people are doing email marketing are saving us on some of these domains that we may not notice till later.
Right. And of course, we all get the emails saying, such and such domain name we've noticed is similar to one you own. We've got it for sale. Click this link and we'll sell it to you for $199. And you go do a who is lookup, and it's not even registered. You can go register right now. Is that what you're going to say, Rick?
That happened to me this week. I own hotshit.com, and this guy keeps spamming me because he has shithot.com. or it drops, and I get the same emails, and they're all crazy. They always have the S in the wrong place, or the words reversed, or it's otherwise worthless.
Isn't it amazing what got registered, though? Sometimes you do look up the who is, because you're like, did someone really pay to register this name? And you see like a 2007 date, and I'm sure people could do that with names in my portfolio, but I'm talking some really...
I have some crazy ones like that, like that gets a lot of traffic, like Fuck Mondays or something. I mean, some funny ones.
But at least that makes sense.
I'll give you a funny one. I used to have this name. I'll put it in the browser because I didn't want to say it because you need to see it. And I was in a meeting once, and I was like, who the hell would want F this shoe? And I didn't realize what it was because it kept getting offers and traffic. I was like, who wants to buy fuck this shoe? And I'm like, what's going on? And then I read it again and again and again. I finally figured out what it said. It's not shoe. So, it took me a while. Anyway, it's gone.
I still don't get it.
Like ho?
Oh, yeah. It's not shoe, Mike. Oh. But it took me a while to notice it.
That's the French version, though, I think.
Exactly.
That's the French slang.
Oh, well, I'm not as up to date on the hose, I guess, as others.
Easy.
I think this is TMI territory.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, anything you want to promote before we close out this show, Adam?
I think Hexanet has had enough from us.
Seriously, Hexanet is sitting pretty this week.
Let's go to, we are 3 weeks away from traffic. Excited as heck to be getting there, and looking forward to seeing everybody. And I hope that people understand the value of traffic because you get all the great players together, and it's a hell of a show.
Thank you, Adam.
I mean it. It is a hell of a show.
Yeah. Mike Berkens, anything you want to promote?
No, but I'll like the rest of today, I'll just second Adam.
Mike, I owe you a drink when we get to Vegas.
Yeah, you do. You flip my switch there. Oh no,
yeah,
which
I'm talking about him.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, I think you're into bottle service now.
No problem.
Paige Howe, anything you want to promote?
We'll keep going with dnstore.tv. I think if TV was a new TLD, it'd be one of the best ones. So we'll put up some Sherpa specials. I'll put some lower price names up there for the Sherpa fans. That if this is your first .tv, just I'll put on their first time .tvs, And it could be as good as net or org. So anyway, we like .tv, and we'll do dnstore.tv. Come on by.
Mike, let me just add one more thing quickly. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'm flying out tomorrow to Omaha, Nebraska and I'm going to be spending a lot of time and speaking at Jeremy Shoemaker's conference. It's a private retreat that he's got, and then after that's Friday, and then Saturday we're going to head over and meet Warren Buffett. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, get a picture.
I'm going to get pictures, or nobody will believe me.
I'm going to newtldstats.com because I want to find out how many TVs are registered right now. Let's see here.
It's probably not as many TVs that are sold as are sold.
I don't see them listed. They got to be higher than .tattoo. Let's see here. Oh, these are just new TLDs. Anybody have an idea? Let's see. I don't even know where to go to look at old TLDs.
Oh, I was talking about in terms of valuation. Like if fashion.org came up,
yeah,
would it be twice as much as fashion.tv or half as much? Or, in terms of premiums, .tv seems to have held its own in terms of having 4 to 5 to 6 figure.
Yeah.
And
definitely for the best names, but at least it's got some punch. So we still like
Fashion TV also makes a lot more sense than fashion.org, though.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something. Yeah.
Rick, anything you want to promote?
So
No, but I think Hexanet. I think Hexanet should have your wallpaper there in the back of you next week. I think that would be a really good move on their part. They got a lot of free publicity this week, so.
Hey, if somebody does a good job, it's our job as well to recommend them to others.
Well, and that's word of mouth advertising, which I've always said, and that, you go back to blog posts from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. The number one thing is word of mouth advertising. It's the strongest advertising in the world, and everyone downplays it like it doesn't exist, and it's real. And I guarantee you that company gets new customers today because of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm going to go check them out again. I know I've been to their website, but I can't remember the last time I was there, so I definitely want to check it out.
It's way too confusing. You won't want to do it. You shouldn't go.
No, I definitely don't want to.
Don't do it.
And since you won't say it, Rick, Adam will, I will. We'll be there at Traffic. It's going to be a great conference, less than a month away. Get off your butt. Get over to targetedtraffic.com. Register today. If you need some incentives, go to DomainSherpa.com. At the top of the list, you'll see Rick and Howard on the show yesterday talking about why Traffic is a must-attend event. Listen directly from the mouths of Rick and Howard, and hopefully Adam and I will see you there, and Rick, we'll see you there.
Absolutely.
I think we're all going to be there.
I'll probably wind up going to Sherpa.
Great. Now I'm going to have to go.
Yes, you are. We're going to have a Sherpa reunion in Vegas. I love Vegas.
I'm like from Adam, so.
Well, wait. See, that just helped me, because now I get to pencil in a new seminar on the second day, which is Domain Sherpa Live. Yes.
Yeah.
Domain Sherpa Live. Adam Dicker, Mike Berkens, Paige Howe, and Rick Schwartz, thanks for coming on the Domain Sherpa discussion, sharing your insights as usual, and thanks for continuing to be Domain Sherpas for others. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.